It is time for version 47 of the competitive Brawl Stars tier list. I reached out to the best players in the world to help me rank every brawler from worst to best. Massive thank you to them for helping out. Seriously, it just makes this tier list so much better. Also, sorry it took me so long to get this video out. I was waiting for second hypercharges and realized I don't know when they're coming. And then Mina was released and I was like, we'll wait for Mina. The good news is that the pros have had a lot of time to decide which brawlers are actually the best and worst. Let's start off with the F tier brawlers. Kicking us off, staying in the F tier is Edgar at the bottom, the very bottom. Edgar remains locked in the F tier. He's still really easy to counter and hasn't gained anything that makes him competitive in the current meta. I've tried using him. He sucks. At least above like Epic or whatever. Mythic, that's what they call it. Wait, what's the purple one? Yeah, that's Mythic. Why did they make the purple one Mythic? That makes no sense. Colt is moving from the D tier down into the F tier. Colt has finally been power crept into being one of the worst brawlers in the game. His damage is still there, but he has no mobility or utility, and he's hard to use. And against a lot of brawlers that do have a lot of mobility, yeah, he struggles. And we've got more to cover, but I want to give a huge thank you to the sponsor of today's video, Meta Horizon. Meta Horizon is a mobile app with tons of different games within the app that are created by the community. And you can download it for free by clicking the link in the description below. Now, I'm not gonna lie here. I did not know that Meta Horizon was for games beyond VR. I am a massive VR enthusiast. I love my MetaQuest 3 so much. And what I love about the Meta Horizon app is that you can play games on mobile with people in VR and vice versa. Really awesome. You start by creating your own avatar to join the community and then jump into games like Chicken Tag, Profit or Perish, Shovel Up, and more. They even have like Spin the Bottle and stuff. My favorite game so far, it's actually really chill. It's just called Yeet Yourself. You literally yeet yourself by using a giant slingshot to fling you off a cliff in your launcher. It's just funny, it's silly, it's meant to just go and be social with other people. It's really fun. And every time that you eat yourself, you earn coins, scrap, and other rewards that you can use to upgrade your stats. The more you upgrade, the further you get yeeted, and the more interesting the game gets because of obstacles that you have to dodge and power-ups that help boost you forward. It's just a lot of silly fun, and I really like it. But for you hardcore gamers out there, Meta Horizon also has a lot of fun first-person shooter games. One that I actually really like is a free-for-all called Action Land, and there's actually going to be another game soon to be released in beta called Super Strike. You're going to want to look out for that because it looks really cool. So click that link below to download Meta Horizons and start playing some of these awesome community games with other people from around the world. And once again, a huge thank you to Meta Horizon for sponsoring this video. Pam is moving from the B tier all the way down to the F tier. Pam used to be somewhat viable. Now she just can't keep up. Her utility isn't enough against like the top tier brawlers and what those brawlers are doing. Also, she's one of 4 brawlers that do not have a hypercharge in the game, and that is really like she's not good. Trunk is moving from the A tier down into the F tier. In the last tier list, Trunk actually had not been released yet, so we were doing our best guesses to see how strong he would actually be, and he just was not nearly as good as we thought he would be. Next, we got the D tier brawlers. These are brawlers that are also not competitive, but they're just like a little bit better than the F tier. Honestly, a lot of the pros were like, I don't understand why we have a D tier, just combine it with the F tier because they all suck, right? And I was like, the people want the D tier for some reason. I don't know why, but you guys do. Staying in the D tier is Rosa. Rosa's actually roughly where she was in the last tier list. A tank with decent stats, but she's just outshined by stronger, more versatile tanks or burst options. Sam is staying in the D tier. He hasn't had any major changes. He's still very map dependent. If the map allows, he can be okay, but otherwise he really struggles, especially because his hypercharge is just takes way too long to charge. El Primo is moving from the C tier down to the D tier. El Primo and the other close range tanks are just suffering a lot more against this high burst, high mobility meta right now. There are just so many brawlers that can do a lot of damage that are just without of his range. He's really struggled. Nani is staying in the D tier. Sorry. She remains in her old same spot. Her strength still exists, but landing consistent damage is a little bit too difficult for her. Chuck is moving from the C tier down into the D tier. Again, Chuck is still good and decent in heist, but overall he's just really weak compared to any other brawlers in other situations. And also there's a lot of close range like tank shutdown brawlers that are in heist that can counter Chuck very easily, like Cordelius or Lily, man. I don't understand how either of them are being played competitively in long-range heist maps, but they are. Dynamite is moving from the C tier down to the D tier. Unfortunately, there are just better throwers than Dynamite in this current meta. He can get value sometimes, but against really fast-moving, agile threats, he really struggles. Oh my gosh, Jesse's moving from the F tier up into the D tier. Ho! She's still not a very competitive option, but she is having a little bit of a use case in some situations in Heist. She's a very niche counter pick, but you can pick her sometimes, but really no. Really, just don't. Pearl's moved from the B tier down into the D tier. She used to have a little bit more shine, but she has taken a hit and is being outpaced by other brawlers at the moment. Miko's moved from the C tier down into the D tier. He's dropped mostly because of the matchups. Some maps aren't really favoring him, and he gets really like hit hard by some of these close range, like high damage dealing assassins like Cordelius that can, you know, just deal with him so easily. Okay, next we have the C tier brawlers. These ones are very niche picks competitively. You may see them have some play, but not very often, and only if conditions are like nearly perfect. Staying in the C tier is Surge. Surge is holding steady. He hasn't gotten significantly better or worse, just more of a neutral position, just a little bit below average, right? Jackie is moving from the B tier down into the C tier. She has slipped a little bit. Her close range tools are still strong, but she's being punished even more in this current meta at the moment. Poco is moving from the B tier down into the C tier. He's still one of the weaker healers in the game, and there's a slightly more of a like an anti-heal kind of thing going on in the current meta, or just stronger healer options with Byron, right? Clancy's moved from the D tier up into the C tier. He received some buffs to how easily he's able to get upgraded, and even though it's still a little too tough to upgrade for him to be competitive, he's at least a little bit more playable now. Penny is staying in the C tier. She's staying in the same spot. Effective in certain situations, just not quite so much elsewhere. She's actually one of my very few competitive options in my skin locked account, and I have been finding it very difficult to play her because of the current meta at the moment. Buzz is moving from the B tier down into the C tier. Buzz falling from B to C kind of reflects how a lot of assassins with stronger burst or mobility are kind of like pushing him and some other assassins down. Meeple's moving from the B tier down into the C tier. He's dropping a bit mostly because of his lack of like DPS and control against like top tier threats. He just doesn't have the burst potential to deal with these assassins that can get really close up to him. And then on maps where he does have the damage to take enemy brawlers out, those enemy brawlers are usually outranging him. Allie, oh, she is moving from the S tier all the way down into the C tier. Now, Allie had just been released when I made the last tier list, and she got nerfed very hard afterwards. So hard that she's dropped 3 tiers. Colette's moving from the B tier down into the C tier. There are a lot of tank counters that are more popular and just a little bit better than she is at the moment. And because of that, she's kind of going down a little bit. Gale is staying in the C tier. He's still in a very similar situation as the last update. His crowd control and utility do help, but his damage is kind of just average, and he's not that much of a threat either. Ems is moving from the D tier up into the C tier. She has a little bit more viability right now, just because she is a decent tank counter from a medium distance, right? But she's still weak up against a lot of other matchups, so she still has a little bit of value sometimes, but she's not the best. Grom is moving from the D tier up into the C tier. He's also improved just a little bit, but he's still behind in a lot of like meta staples. There are long range throwers that just do better damage than him and don't struggle quite so much against close range brawlers like Grom does. Leon is staying in the C tier. He actually received a little bit of a buff to his damage, but it doesn't seem to have affected his viability very much. BB is moving from the D tier up into the C tier. She actually received a rework to her home run bat, which was really just kind of a buff. Now she's actually kind of a decent pick in some situations where she is able to deal with some close range brawlers. However, there are a lot of close-ish range brawlers like Draco and Cordelius that can stay outside of her range that she does struggle up against. I seriously love playing Draco into BB. Oh, man, it's just so fun. Shelly is staying in the C tier. She actually received a buff to her fast forward gadget, and while it probably did make her slightly more versatile, and she is being played a little bit more, it's still a really tough choice between the two gadgets. And yeah, she can be played, but not as good as we initially thought after she got buffed. Oh my gosh, Spike is moving from the B tier down into the C tier. That's wild. This meta is really tough on a brawler like Spike, where you either have long range damage dealers that can just like 2-shot him, or you have close range assassins that can also 2-shot him. Yeah, honestly, I'm a little bit shocked to see this placement, but the pros, man, they know their stuff. Brock is staying in the C tier. He's got good long range. His attacks are really powerful, but they're a little bit difficult to land compared to some of the other sharpshooters. As soon as a brawler gets like kind of within range of him, he really struggles against them. Mortis is moving from the B tier down into the C tier. Not much has changed for Mortis. He's just being power crept on more and more each update. So unfortunate for him. Sprout is staying in the C tier. Sprout is about in the same situation. It has really great map control on certain maps, but is also really easy to counter. 8-Bit's moving from the B tier down into the C tier. He actually received a slight buff to his damage, but the meta and the map pool just don't favor him very well at all. Mandy is staying in the C tier. She is in a stable tier. She has her uses, but she's definitely not a top pick. In fact, she's one of my least favorite brawlers to play against, and I typically like to ban her a lot. I've kind of stopped banning her because there are just other threats and people aren't playing her that much anyway. Nita is staying in the C tier. She actually didn't change very much. Her bear does counter certain top tier brawlers, but her close range makes her a limited option. I actually really like Nita against like Draco, but other than that, I don't know. She seems to struggle a little bit. Okay, up next we have the B tier brawlers. These brawlers are competitive. They may not be the best option in every single map mode or against every single brawler, but you'll see these played a fair bit in competitive play. At the bottom of the B tier and staying in the B tier is Tick. Tick does provide good value in certain game modes and on certain maps, but he's vulnerable elsewhere and there are some good counters against him. Definitely don't pick him first pick, but he could be a good last pick. Mo is moving from the C tier up into the B tier. Mo is moving up just a little bit. It does require for him to be really careful about how he uses the hypercharge, but you know, if you use him the right way and at the right time, then he can be pretty good. Bo is staying in the B tier. He actually got a slight nerf to his supercharge rate due to him being able to charge his hypercharge a little bit too easily with his gadget. He's still pretty good though. And honestly, I really hate facing off against him in hot zone. I really do. Chester is moved from the A tier down into the B tier. He's just being played a little bit less than he was before. He's still a good choice against certain tanks, but he's not providing quite as much value as he was before. Piper is staying in the B tier. She kind of is in the same situation. She's a long range damage dealer, and there are some cases where she's really good, but otherwise you don't want to play her too often because she's not great on maps that don't have open walls, right? Larry and Laurie are staying in the B tier. Now, big, huge, fat disclaimer here that this is before the second set of hypercharges are actually released. Larry and Laurie are going to get another hypercharge or their hypercharge, and I think they're just going to be really strong. But until that happens, they're in the B tier. We'll have to wait and see how they do afterwards. Daryl is staying in the B tier. His viability in some modes and in close quarters actually can allow him to be pretty good, but there's a lot of brawlers that can counter him now, so you want to make sure you're pretty careful about when you pick and play at Daryl. B is moving from the A tier down into the B tier. She's a good sharpshooter and has a lot of utility, but there are other counters that have just gotten better. She's kind of in a situation where there are long-range sharpshooters that she struggles against, and so you don't play her against other long-range brawlers, but you do play her against tanks, but usually tanks aren't being played too often on maps that have few walls, so she's kind of an interesting spot. Ash is moving from the A tier down to the B tier. So he's slightly worse, but still remains a solid close range or burst competitive option. Mr. P is staying in the B tier. He's in about the same situation as he was last meta, a very good counter to single projectile brawlers, but also really easy to counter with aggressive brawlers or brawlers that are able to do splash damage. Eve is moving from the C tier up into the B tier. Eve is kind of similar to Mr. P, though she's just a little bit safer and not so hit or miss when it comes to some matchups. And also there are some maps where there's water where she actually has a decent amount of value. Fang is moving from the C tier up into the B tier. Nothing's really changed for Fang, but there are a lot of brawlers that he plays well against that have kind of moved up into the meta, and so he has some more viability now. Frank is staying in the B tier. Frank is still both good and bad in the same situations that he has been good and bad in, so yeah, his placement's kind of interesting. Griff is staying in the B tier. Griff has improved just a little bit. His hypercharge and his wall break ability give him a little bit more relevance against some of these brawlers that, you know, really utilize walls a lot. However, and, you know, the pros definitely know their stuff better than I do, but I play Griff a ton, and I will say that he is struggling against some brawlers that just utilize walls on maps with too many walls for him to break. In those situations, man, like there's some Brawl Ball maps where there's just so many walls that his piggy bank gadget just doesn't break enough walls, and he really struggles. Like Shade, oh man. Yeah, anyway, that's all I gotta say about that. I'm a little sad. I like playing Griff. Lola's moved from the C tier up into the B tier. She's improved slightly, but still falls short versus more like mobile or burst heavy brawler options. Next is Maisie, moved from the C tier up into the B tier. Maisie's still a safe choice, but her shots are hard to land, and she doesn't have the best overall stats to compensate, but there are some situations when she can be a good choice. Max is staying in the B tier. Max, honestly, in the hands of the pro players, Max is probably always going to be good. I don't know, every single time I say that about a brawler, they eventually fall out of meta, but Max just provides so much value. That speed and that ability to like dodge stuff when you got her powering herself and her teammates with speed, it's just so good. She's not quite at the top right now, but she is dependable in the hands of the pro player. Sandy is moving from the C tier up into the B tier. He's moving up just a little bit. His invisibility and his zone control have moments of strength, especially when paired with other brawlers that tend to really utilize that a lot right now. Melody is moving from the A tier down into the B tier. She's back to being pretty much only good in Heist for the most part. With some other maps, there are some exceptions, or maybe to counter some certain brawlers, but yeah, Heist is really where she seems to be shining now. Oh, you can play her in Brawl Arena too, which isn't like in the competitive ranked modes, but man, Brawl Arena, I love Brawl Arena. Doug is moving from the A tier down into the B tier. He's still fairly good when it comes to like tanks, but he's less overwhelming than before, and I'm okay with that. Rico is staying in the A tier. He's kind of stable. There are situations when he is really good on the right maps and walls against certain brawlers and stuff like that, but yeah, just good overall. Meg is moving from the A tier down into the B tier. Her fast bursts and strong damage help her kind of remain relevant, especially because she's able to outrange some of these like annoying assassin type brawlers that get in there, do damage, and get right out. But as the meta shifts, it's hurt her a little bit, so she's not as good as she used to be. Barry is staying in the B tier. He's actually gone up just a little bit. He's good for support and utility, but still kind of a niche situation on the right maps for supporting the right brawlers. Stu is staying in the B tier. He kind of remains in the B tier, high skill ceiling, high reward, but also high risk kind of situation. Also, he's just kind of like, let's be honest, kind of power crept on by Mina. Bull is staying in the B tier. He's really good in close range situations, and his super's actually done pretty good for him, but very easy to punish otherwise. Belle is staying in the B tier. She's kind of a consistent, pretty safe pick for as a sharpshooter and can be used in a lot of different situations that other brawlers aren't quite as good at. Carl is staying in the B tier. His map control is really useful, but he's getting countered by more aggressive brawlers at the moment. You kind of have to be careful when you're playing Carl, when to and when not to use him. RT is staying in the B tier. He actually received a slight nerf to his hypercharge stats, which was probably needed, but he's still doing plenty fine. Okay, Juju is moving from the A tier down to the B tier, but will probably be in the S tier. We're gonna leave her in the B tier for right now. The pros said that she's probably going to be S tier once her hypercharge is released, but until then, she's not the best. Just keep her on your radar for when she does get her hypercharge. Barley's moving from the A tier down into the B tier. As one of my few competitive options on my skin locked account, I have felt that hard. He's still good for area control, but he's really struggling against the top like aggressive brawlers that can jump over walls, attack around walls, destroy walls, go invisible and then pop up right next to him and kill you, or go into the shadow realm and pop up next to him and kill you. Like Hank is moving from the S tier down into the B tier. He's still strong for certain maps, but he's dropped from the S tier because of his counters rising up in the meta. And now we have the A tier brawlers. These brawlers are very competitive. They're good in a lot of different situations. They're what people consider to be the best of the best. However, they're almost the best of the best. They're not as good as the S tier brawlers. Janet is moving from the B tier up into the A tier. Her utility and her damage are becoming more relevant in this meta. And you know, that's kind of actually surprising to me. I haven't been seeing Janet played very much. I'm not a pro. I'm not even in Masters yet, right? But like, I don't know. It's just interesting. Anyway, whatever. Janet, good. Tara's moving from the B tier up into the A tier. She received a slight nerf to her gadget cooldown, but her crowd control and her ability to flip fights is a lot more appreciated now. Gene is staying in the A tier. His super continues to be very game-changing, even if other brawlers are kind of catching up, you know? And so, like, he just has these moments where it's just like, especially in gem grab, he can just, it's not even in gem grab. You can play him in knockout. You can play him in bounty. There's a lot of situations where just changing things at the last second is really good, especially for pro play. Lou is staying in the A tier. He's actually pretty strong right now. He can counter tanks. He can actually stop enemies from like when they're using their hypercharge. He can freeze them in some situations. You know, the conditions have to be just right, but that's just how the game is played now. You know, conditions are met all the time because pros are pros. He also has a lot of damage that can deal with tanks as well. Squeak is moving from the B tier up into the A tier. Yeah, and I felt this. Squeak is just like, man, it's so weird to me that Squeak is like good in bounty and knockout. It's just so weird to me, but he is. He's just in a better situation than he was before. And you know, the pros are finding more value out of his attacks that are, you know, you can dodge them, but if he lands there, anyway, you get the idea. Otis is moving from the C tier up into the A tier. Whoa. He actually received a buff to his damage and his total health. And the meta has kind of like shifted to do him some favors because he can just shut down those brawlers that freaking just pop out of the shadow realm and kill you, or just like use their hypercharge. You know, every brawler that has a hypercharge now can get countered by Otis because, you know, they pop their hypercharge and then boom, super's on you, and then you're like, I can't do anything. Gray is staying in the A tier. His super makes a lot of close range brawlers even stronger, and he himself counters a lot of brawlers, so he's actually really good right now, man, especially in bounty and knockout. Buster is staying in the A tier. He remains very good. He's very versatile enough to work in a lot of different maps and modes. He plays well with a lot of close range teammates. He's just a really good option. Willow is moving from the B tier up into the A tier. Willow's actually one of the very few throwers that can actually deal with close range brawlers thanks to her super. And man, I hate playing against Willow on Brawl Ball. It's so annoying having your teammate score a goal on you. Oh, it's so frustrating. Amber is staying in the A tier. She's one of the more reliable picks right now. She has good long range, consistent damage, a useful super. She can deal with close range assassins. Oh, yeah, she's good at the moment. Angelo's also staying in the A tier. He's one of the best sharpshooters in the game for the same reasons as always, especially on maps where he has some water that he's able to cross over. Freaking Lily, man, staying in the A tier. She received a nerf to her hypercharge projectile speed, but she's still one of the hardest assassins in the game to counter, especially if you have a limited range of brawlers like I do. Oh my gosh, she is frustrating. Ruffs is moving from the C tier up into the A tier. Whoa! He received a buff to his main attack projectile speed, and it has made a lot of difference in the world for him. I guess the pros know something that I do not. I was not aware that Ruffs is so much better now. Jae Young is staying in the A tier, and he remains near the top of the A tier, right? Healing / supporting. He's got such a good combo, and he does good damage himself as well. He honestly might break the game when he gets his hypercharge. It's happening soon. Everybody prepare for the Jae Young apocalypse. Lumi is moving from the S tier down into the A tier. She isn't quite as oppressive as she originally was, especially as she's gotten some nerfs, but she is still a very good, solid option, especially on maps or on game modes where map control is really important. Draco is moving from the S tier down into the A tier. He remains near the peak. Many see him as one of the most consistent top tier tanks now. I've been playing him and he's been doing wonders for my ranked draft. He may not be S tier anymore. You have to be a little bit more skillful about how you play him, but if you can play him right, man, he provides value. Kenji is staying in the A tier. He still has one of the best hypercharges in the game, and that's what keeps him so high up there, honestly. Like, he might struggle the rest of the time, but as soon as he gets his hypercharge, it just applies so much pressure to the enemy, and you can just like, oh, it's so strong. Crow is moving from the B tier up into the A tier. Crow's anti-healing and recent buffs have made him one of the safest and best counter picks in the game. You do have to be a little bit careful with him, but his shield gadget with the star power that decreases how much damage the enemies do actually really makes Crow quite tanky, which is interesting. Gus is moving from the S tier down into the A tier. He is still a very safe pick. He's just not quite as strong in the meta, and this is something I've noticed as well. I like to play him as kind of a safe bet against some tanks that jump on you, like Lily and Cordelius, because he's a super, can push them away. But even then, somehow they still kill you a lot of the time. Charlie is staying in the A tier. Very similar to Gus, Charlie's a safe, good choice, but there are just more options high up in the meta right now. Shade is moving from the S tier down into the A tier. Shade isn't completely broken anymore, but Shade's hypercharge still might be the strongest hypercharge in the game. And in some maps where there's just lots of walls, Shade is just truly a nightmare to deal with. Bonnie is staying in the A tier. She remains very high. After her rework and her hypercharge, she's still one of the best options in the game. I really like playing her a lot into a lot of situations, and if you can land a hypercharge on a single brawler, that brawler is dead. But now we have the S tier brawlers, the best of the best. They can be played in a lot of different maps, a lot of different modes, against a lot of different types of brawlers. They're just really good options. At the bottom of the S tier, but still staying in the S tier, is Kaze. She is excellent across many maps and matchups. There's really not very much that can stop her. But you have to be good with her, man. Her fan mode is so high skill, high reward. Ziggy is starting his debut in the S tier. Now, Ziggy has not been released at the time of my recording this video, and so this is like the one brawler that I'm taking a lot of the blame for, like, placing him, okay? I don't mean blame. I just mean, like, the pros haven't played him nearly as much as I have, right? Now, it's interesting because I've actually been hearing reports that Ziggy has received some sort of a nerf to his delay after he attacks so that enemy brawlers are able to dodge his attacks. I don't know where those reports came from. I haven't seen anything official. And when I go and I play him on the developer build, I think that he's just as strong as he was before. I could be so wrong. Honestly, I don't know. I hope that he gets a little bit of a nerf, because the fact that normal movement speed brawlers cannot dodge an auto-aimed attack from Ziggy is just insane. Now, he does have one of the slowest reload speeds in the game. Actually, I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it might be the slowest reload speed in the game. He's very, very strong. I think he's going to be really, really good. Just keep this placement with a little bit of a disclaimer. We'll have to see once he's actually released. And maybe the rumors of him getting a nerf to his attack delay or whatever is actually accurate, and he won't be as strong as I think he is. We'll have to see, but I'm placing him here in the S tier. He's really good, I think. Oh, Byron moving from the B tier all the way up into the S tier. Now, Byron received a hypercharge, and that alone quickly made him one of the best brawlers in the game. Even though that hypercharge itself isn't that great compared to others, it actually recharges really fast compared to a lot. So he gets his hypercharge very frequently, and it just is almost guaranteed to provide value in some situations. And just the fact that it covers such a big splash area, and you know, maybe not be the most overwhelming one, maybe not be like a team wipe hypercharge, but the consistency that he can charge it is what makes it so strong. Finks is moving from the A tier up into the S tier. Finks is another brawler that was already really good and then got a hypercharge this update, so he's obviously back to being one of the best brawlers in the game. Ollie is moving from the B tier up into the S tier. And for our third brawler in a row, Ollie also received a hypercharge that is actually sort of broken. It's really good. And Kit is moving from the B tier up into the S tier. Kit didn't have his hypercharge when I made the last tier list, and despite getting a nerf this update, his hypercharge is still completely busted. It's so strong. I hate playing against Kit. Up next, we have Mina, who is starting out her debut in the S tier, almost the very top. Now, we are still very early into Mina's career, but for the short time that the pros have had her and been able to use her, almost all of them agree that she is S tier, and many of them choose her to be in their top 3 choices. I'm taking a little bit of liberty here. A lot of people say that she's #1 strongest brawler in the game, but I just feel like so early into her debut, I don't feel confident in putting her at absolutely #1. So I put her in #2, but a lot of pros do think that she is the #1 strongest brawler in the game and needs some emergency nerfs. So keep that in mind. She really might be the best of the best. But moving from the B tier to the very top is Cordelius in the S tier. Cordelius is single-handedly keeping the game somewhat balanced, since his super can often be used to cancel out a lot of these game-breaking hypercharges, and he is just really strong on his own. He is just so absurd. I think the pros are playing him more and more and have just realized how much like viability there is and versatility and just so many options. You can play him against so many brawlers. It's just ridiculous to me that you can play like Cordelius on long-range heist maps and just dominate. And that is every single brawler in the game ranked from worst to best. Once again, a massive thank you to all of the pros that helped make this tier list. I could not do it without their help, and they take the time to respond with really good, well thought out feedback, and we just really appreciate them. So big thank you to them. And thank you guys to you. I know that you guys have wanted this video. You have been begging for it, commenting on every single one of my videos for the past couple of weeks. Where's the tier list? I'm so sorry you had to wait, but hopefully the wait is worth it. And hopefully this is the most accurate competitive tier list out there right now. Make sure you subscribe for future competitive tier lists, and you guys should check out this video. I think you're going to really like it. We'll see you in the next one.